Hi, this is Kim with Mom's Creative Moments. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are venturing to visit the Book of Kells. If you know anything about the Book of Kells from Trinity College in Ireland, in Dublin actually, the Book of Kells is very special, and I'm going to be telling you a little bit more about what I learned about it because honestly I didn't know very much. Over the course of the next couple of videos, this is going to take more than one video for sure, and I'm not exactly certain how many. I'm hoping to utilize some peekaboo pockets so that I can include a lot more photos and do not as many layouts, but I also don't want to overload my album with a bunch of peekaboo pockets on every single page, and so I'm going to try to balance that the best I can. We have a lot of photos from the Book of Kells because it is fascinating, because it is ancient history, and rather remarkable that they were able to do what they were able to do to create this book. So let's delve into a bit of history, shall we? Let's check out my workspace and we'll get started. Okay, so this is my workspace for today. You'll recognize this page as the right-hand side of the O'Neill's layout, O'Neill's Pub and Molly Malone statue. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on. So we're going to flip this page and we'll just talk about some of the things I've got on my desk here. I just have my repositionable and permanent adhesive. I also have my Victorian blade out. We're going to be using this in my trimmer a little bit later, and so that's just a quick reminder for me that I'm going to be needing to use that. I pulled this sketch taken from September of 2023, so it's fairly recent. So if you go on the CM blog, look up Autumn Harvest paper pack, or just scroll back to September of 2023 and you'll be able to find this with all the appropriate instructions. I'm going to have to modify mine just a little bit to fit the photos that I have and to work with the paper that I want to use. I pulled out what I had left of the Our Moments collection, which you can see kind of sitting here if you're familiar with older CM collections. Our Moments came out a couple years ago, and I just had a couple of sheets left of it. It's very pretty and it goes together really nicely, and I thought the rich jewel tones in this would work really well with what we're talking about in this layout, which is the Book of Kells. So I have this very cute little Discovery Trail booklet, which as you can see is really designed for kids that are ages 5 and up. I figured I'm well past that, so it might apply to me, right? Because literally most of the things in this museum were, you know, they were very well explained to those people like me who don't fully understand what we're looking at. But there was a lot to see in this museum, and you're going to see in the next few videos just how much, because I have several videos or several layouts to do, and I'm hoping to do videos for you of all of those. This was a very handy little booklet. If you're not familiar with the Book of Kells, let me just briefly explain it by saying that the Book of Kells is a translation or an illustration done by monks in like the 1400s or something like that of the first four books of, or the first four Gospels of the New Testament of the Holy Bible of Scripture. What they would do is they would go in and retranscribe or rescribe the works of each of the books and add art to them. And so these monks were called illuminators because they were considered to be artists who added art to the scriptures. You're going to see some pretty intricate and very fancy artwork that was all derived from natural pigments, and you're going to see those pigments as well in the photos that we took. So that's pretty cool. It was a very, very neat museum to go through and learn, and we could have spent probably a lot more time there than we did. But it was really, really informative, and we learned a lot. So I'm going to keep this intact. I'm not going to break this up. I'm going to put this into a 5x7 peekaboo pocket. as you can see right here. And instead of making it flip, I'm just going to secure the pocket on my page so that the book can be removed and looked at and then replaced if we ever want to do that. To accommodate the photos that I have that are going to go on this page, you will also find out that we're going to turn this layout so it will be this way, instead of this way. So ours will look quite different than this one, but similar in many fashions, but more like this. Okay, so I'm just going to move this a bit out of the way, and we're going to cut some pieces that we're going to use in this layout. I also remembered as I was starting this video that this is the first activity of our second day there, our first full day in Dublin, and so as a result of that, I need to put a new day marker in. So we'll be doing that. But first of all, I'm going to just cut a couple of things. Cut up. I'm going to cut 4 strips that are going to be a 1/2 inch by 12 inch wide. These are going to go down each side of my layout, and I'm hoping that if I cut this piece just very slowly that it won't move around on me too much. There we go, that was good. Just some scraps that I had of this because I need to use every last little bit. Too much variation. So I'm excited about that. All right. So there's our 4 1/2 by 12 inch pieces. And I'm going to set this piece aside. I think we're done with that one, but don't quote me on that, okay? This one I need to cut 2 pieces that are 4 3/4 by 12. We're going to go horizontal with our sort of net, so it'll be this way. All right. This is for a 2-page layout. So if you are not planning to do a 2-page layout, then just maybe watch how I do this, and then you can determine what pieces you want and how you want them done. Now I'm going to use this paper to make a portion of the mats, and I'm also going to use this red paper to make a portion of the mats. So bear with me here just a second. I need a piece that is 7 by 4 1/4, so I'm going to just cut this at 4 1/4 this way, and then pull my arm out so that I can measure 7. Boy, as I was trying to figure out these measurements and what I wanted to do where and what I had enough paper to do where, my brain was really struggling. We're going to cut this at 3 3/4, and we're going to turn it and cut at 5 1/2, which is going to be right here at the very edge of my trimmer. This needs to be 5 inches by 4 1/4. And then the last one, I don't have a piece that is long enough, so I'm going to have to mat the last one in a different paper. Honestly, there are a lot of different pieces to this particular layout, and it was not an easy one to decide what I could use where, because I'm using papers that are what's left of a collection, so I don't have the benefit of just being able to go, oh, I'll just grab that other sheet of paper from the pack. So these pieces are 7 1/4 by 4 1/2, and another one that is 7 1/4 by 4 1/2, and then these two are both 4 1/2 wide, and then this piece is what I will end up matting that extra photo in that needs to be 5 1/2 by 3 3/4. I already trimmed a couple of my photos so that they will correspond well with all of these measurements. So now I suppose the trick is going to be remembering which photo goes with which mat. Alright, so I'm going to set my trimmer over here, grab my left hand side of the page. First thing I'm going to do is go ahead and grab one of these pieces. We're going to put that down. Don't put, if you're making this with me, don't put your scraps too far away. We're going to need some more of them eventually, but right now we're just going to get this put together and then we will worry about that part. Okay? So first, here, I always start from the middle, and I wasn't starting from the middle. So let's start from this side, because this is where the hinge is, so that's the middle of my layout. And lay my paper across. The reason I do that is because occasionally papers will be just a little shy of the 12 inches that our page is, and you can see this one is just barely shy of that. So I just like to try to keep that on the outside of the layout. I have found it provides better cohesion through the middle. Alright, so these two are going to end up here, but before we do that, we are going to take two of these and we are going to grab our trimmer and just measure 7 1/4 inches. So stack your strips and measure out 7 1/4 inches. So moving my arm out, have to restack my strips because my arm disrupted everything. So 7 1/4. Just make sure that they're together. Somehow that strip is just slightly wider than the other, but that's okay. They're going to go on opposite sides of the layout, so no one will know but you. Alright, so those two and then these two are going to be the same. So stack these two as well, and you'll want to keep these together for the right side of the layout, but while we're working on the left side of the layout, these will at least be all good to go. Okay, so stacking. I don't know why. Oh, this one has adhesive on the back because we stuck it down, so it keeps sort of getting hung up. There. Okay, that should be better. Alright. Some days things just go really smoothly, and other days things just fight. Have you ever noticed that? Some days life is just swimming. Other days you feel like every time you turn around you're fighting a battle. That's kind of how I feel at this moment. It's been a lot of struggles with my focus today to try to make sure these measurements were right, and apparently I'm still struggling. Okay, alright, so we have 7 1/4 and 3 3/4 pieces, I believe. Let's see, 4 3/4 pieces. Alright, so the 4 3/4 pieces are going to get flipped over. We're going to use our repositionable adhesive, and we're going to adhere these to the outside edge, lower outside edge, and inner outside edge of each of the pages of the layout. So there's one. And here is number 2, the inside one. Okay, then these two are going to go on the top, on the inside and the outside. And I would be generous with your adhesive, because since this is such a small piece, it is going to tend to buckle, want to buckle on you, and you don't want that. So just, I put about 4 sections of adhesive down on that to keep it from puckering. And I'm going to come back and redo this one because it's puckering, which is why I mentioned it. Alright, so this one's going to go right along the jeeping on the inside edge. Just like that. Let me grab my all-purpose tools are so wonderful. So just a little bit more adhesive down the middle, just so that lays flat. Okay, then we're going to take these, and you could do this with permanent or repositionable adhesive, so whatever you have handy will work just fine. And we're going to take these, they're going to touch this bottom page, and we're going to center them with a tiny gap between them in the middle. Okay, so like that. So you have just a little bit of the top page showing, or at least that's what I've got. There's a little bit of the top of my page showing. I've got about 1/8 of an inch between these pieces going up through the center, just like that. I'm going to take just a second and adhere some photos to mats. This is a picture of my son, and he is looking at one of the walls of information that was talking about the artist that did the illustrations. His photo is going to go right there, and then I have this photo, which is a larger view of one of the items on the wall that Michael is looking at right there, where it says the artist. And I'm going to center this on this blue piece. The blue piece is meant to be the inner mat of a double matted situation. But my mats, I wanted my mats to appear to be the same size. So this one is going to go over here on this side, and you can see it's got a double mat all the way around it, and the two that are going to go on this other mat will just be single. They will not have the blue mat underneath them. Alright, and I did cut these photos down just a smidge so that they would be able to fit into this space, because I didn't want to have to do an additional layout. Because as you can see from looking at this photo, this area where it talks about the artist is right here behind my son's head, and then these areas right here are all in these two photos. But these are much closer, so we can actually read the words, whereas here would be just way too small, especially for me. So I'm putting permanent adhesive on the one side, and then I'm going to do repositional adhesive on this side. So just a little repositional there in the corner. And the reason is because we're going to actually make a couple of additional features for this side of the layout, which I'll get to in a minute. And I want to be able to lift that up shortly. Okay, so let's move on to our second page before we work on this page some more. So we'll just set that up there out of the way. And this piece was extra, so it's gonna go up there out of the way. Alright, so we're gonna put this page down, this piece down, just like we did on that first, on the left-hand side of our layout. This is the, let me check the measurement, 4 3/4 by 12 piece from this fun kind of neutral mat or netting. It's kind of a tone-on-tone piece, so hopefully that makes sense. And we're going to take our 1/2-inch pieces, remember these? And just like we did on the left-hand side, we're going to put these down. So we're going to put this right here in the middle. Oh, you know what? This needs to be blue. I don't know what I was thinking. I put the adhesive on the wrong side. Thank goodness it's repositionable adhesive. Right, so it'll just come right off. Get that off as quickly as possible, because sometimes repositionable adhesive, even though I love it to pieces, sometimes it does take a little bit of the pigment of the paper with it when you take it off. So fortunately that wasn't too bad. Alright, so like that. Let me go ahead and mount these 2 photos. Okay, so this is a picture of me standing in the museum looking at some things, and someone, one of my family members, called to me and made me turn around and take a look at what they were looking at and took my picture, which is good because we all need our photos in our albums. Our faces should show up in our own albums. So if your face isn't showing up in your album, you need to think about that. I'm just going to add some permanent adhesive to the back of my peekaboo pocket. I also have this strip of adhesive which we will use as well. But I don't want this to come up off of my page. I want this to stay down. I don't want, I'm not sealing this up, I'm just adding a means of holding this memorabilia. I'm not worried about it affecting my page because it's not going to be touching a photo. It's only going to be touching the peekaboo pocket, and it'll be able to be removed. Okay, so I'm going to add this in about 3/4 of an inch from the top. And go ahead and put that down. Then we've got these 2 photos. This one that really talks about a very special page that was done. They say this is the most celebrated image of the Book of Kells. It comes from the Book of Matthew, and the rest of this just talks about all the different details and why it was important and special. We're going to put this photo down here below it with just a tiny bit of the tone-on-tone page showing around it. Give a little bit of a dual matte effect. Alright, now that you want to pull out those other pieces of paper that we had that were extra, okay? We are going to make some flags, but these flags are going to be a little bit different than your typical flag. We've got several different varieties here. This one back in front of us, because these flags are going to go off this side right here, And this is what we need our Victorian blade for. Okay, so I'm going to pull my trimmer back over, and we are going to, I'm going to use my trimmer to cut, we're going to do 1 1/4. Let's see, I'm just going to cut 3 pieces at 4 inches, and then that way I can flip and flop them however I want. Okay, what I thought we would do, instead of making a typical flag with an indent that goes at an angle like this, what I want to do is just make something that may look like the edge of a bookmark. And so that's why we're going to use the Victorian blade. What I want to do is, and I should have cut this just a little bit. Sorry. I'm going to put my straight blade back in here real quick. There we go. I'm going to cut this one at 1 1/2. And then I think we'll go with that. And this piece may end up being a journal box for us, so I'm just going to set that up there. I'm going to again swap this with my Victorian blade, and I'm just going to take each one of these and put that irregular Victorian edge on the short end, and I'm going to put it straight across on some. So just take an eighth of an inch off and cut. And then others I'm going to place more at an angle. So this one I'm going to place out to the edge of my mat. I'm going to put the lower corner on my cutting line, and the upper corner out to the edge of my gray cutting mat. Go ahead and cut. So that's a little bit jagged. This one I'm going to do the opposite way. This one will do a straight across on this one. This one I'm going to do the upper edge on the cutting line and the lower edge 3/8 inch mark. It's just a fun way of providing an option, right? A different way of doing this. So this one again is upside down, so that angle is going a different direction, and then this one will just do straight across. So now let's see how we can arrange these so that they will look nice and just be kind of like bookmarks that are from old books, kind of like that, just like that. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and use my repositionable adhesive and assemble these together as much as I possibly can. So I'm just going to put a little bit there, a little bit here. Anything we can see when we're done, remember, we can just rub right off, so we can be as liberal as we want to be with this, so that we can get our papers arranged just like we want. Okay, so just like that. And then what we're going to do is I'm putting some repositionable adhesive on the back of my papers. And so I had one too many, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe we should have another one just for some variation. Okay, that one seems to want to go there because my adhesive was already on the back. So there we go. Alright, so then we have an odd number, which is good. And we're just going to push those right underneath. Now, one thing I'm not happy about is I can see the edge of this blue, the blue stripy one. So we'll just adjust that slightly so that we can't see the edge of that one. And we'll put that down like so. Okay. So lots of different bookmarks. And we could journal on this one if we wanted to. And just make note of the fact that everything here is up there. All right, now I need this other journal box. I think it needs to be just a little bit smaller, so I'm gonna cut this down maybe about an inch. And for those of you screaming that I need to change my blade out because I didn't do that, haha, I remembered. Thanks for the reminder. Okay, there we go. And we'll put that right under there and add a few embellishments. And again, these are the remnants from our moments. So I have stickers that went with the Our Moments collection. We can use this one that says one of a kind, because this truly is a one-of-a-kind record. And I just want to look for a moment here. I'm going to go ahead and place this down so it's not shifting around on us or on me. So we're just going to place that, center it between. That'll work. Okay. I've got one of a kind. I've got we could use portraits of the past. I think that would be completely appropriate. Maybe history in the making. Okay. Now we need to just add a few elements to these to sort of jazz them up just a little bit. So I'm going to take this round heart and we're going to add this to history in the making. We'll use stories and records, which are all unique, right? Stories and records. Past. We've got this nice little ribbon here that is perfect for kind of making a little base for this. I think that looks really nice right there, like that. And we can just sort of offset our heart behind it, just like that. We could set that here, maybe. We can do portraits of the past up here. Hang on, I need to just take a look at this for a second. Maybe this should be a little more in the middle, over this way. Maybe more kind of towards the left 2/3. And this one we can put in the center here, and then we can do another one higher and more over this way. So I'm just going to go ahead and put this down, even though I'm not adding foam squares. Okay, we're going to do like that. I'm going to put this one kind of right here in the middle. And one of a kind needs, I think we're going to do some leaves. That, and maybe we'll add just another tiny set of leaves going the other direction. Come here. So something like that. And remember, these stickers are photo safe, so I don't have to worry about them bothering my photos if they're touching my photos, like you see that they are touching my photos. They're going to be just fine. No worries there. Okay, I'm going to come back in and add a little bit of a leaf to this one, just for some continuity's sake. And maybe since I have a third leaf, we'll add a leaf down here to this guy too. That way it'll kind of tie everything together. All right, there we go. So this is our introduction to the Book of Kells, and I'm remembering I need our day marker. So this is technically day 3 of our journey. And so we've got a 3 and a portion of a rainbow to add. So let's figure out where we ought to put those so that it will make sense. Maybe what we'll do is I'll move Michael over just a little. Let's see if I can pop him up. So we'll move him over so that he's a little more centered on the page. And we can put our rainbow down here at the base to mark our beginning of day 3. Don't want to cover up too much of this, however, we can see it all up here, so probably not super stressful thing. We'll add it kind of up this way, like so. How's that? All right, so here is our Book of Kells layout, the beginning of Book of Kells. We'll be visiting Book of Kells again for the next couple of videos, so hopefully this is something neat and educational for you, and it'll give you some ideas of some different sketches that you can use in your own layouts and how you can adapt them. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope you have a wonderful day and many more creative moments. Take care now.